Hello friends, in our previous video, we have already discussed theory of internal combustion engines and the answers of most of the questions. In this video, we will cover some very important questions and their answers. So, our first question is, what is the difference between two-stroke engine and four-stroke engine? The construction wise difference is that four-stroke engine has got air inlet valve and exhaust valves both, whereas in two-stroke engine there is only exhaust valve, there is no air inlet valve. In place of air inlet valve in two-stroke engine there are scavenge ports. These ports are in the cylinder liner. Second thing is, in two-stroke engine piston has got piston rod which is connected with connecting rod with the crosshead, and there is a crosshead bearing in between, whereas in four-stroke engine there is no piston rod. Piston is directly connected with the connecting rod and the point where it is connected is called gudgeon pin. Third thing is, in two-stroke engine combustion space, that is cylinder liner space, is separate from the crankcase and it is separated by stuffing box, whereas in four-stroke engine there is no separation. Combustion space and crankcase, there is no separation, both are common. Now coming to cycles, in two-stroke engine all four processes, suction, compression, expansion, that is called power stroke also, and exhaust, all these four processes are completed in two-stroke, whereas in four-stroke engine all these four processes are completed in four-stroke. So when we are talking about cycles, let me tell you very important point, that there is a time when both in air inlet valve, or you can say scavenge port, and exhaust valve, they both are open, and this time is called time of overlap. During this time, fresh air comes from inlet valve and pushes the exhaust out from the exhaust valve. This process is called scavenging. Here you can ask that during time of overlap, why doesn't exhaust gets inside the air inlet valve? Because at that time both the valves are open. So the answer is because charge air which is coming through the air inlet valve is under pressure. It is on the higher pressure because of turbocharger. So because the pressure is high, so exhaust will never go to the higher pressure side. It will always go to the lower pressure side, which is the exhaust valve. Other important thing about the cycles is fuel injection timing. As you know, fuel injection starts 5 degrees before the TDC. But friends, this timing is not fixed. It totally depends upon engine to engine and maker to maker. This timing can be advanced also and retarded also to get the better fuel efficiency. So if you advance the timing, then efficiency may increase, but at the same time, because your combustion will start early, it will push the piston which is coming up very hard, and that will generate a big noise, and that noise is called knocking of the engine. So knocking of the engine is the sound created by the piston because of advancement of the fuel timing, or you can say early combustion of the fuel. As far as fuel efficiency is concerned, four-stroke engine is more fuel efficient than the two-stroke engine. But when it comes to power, two-stroke engine is always more powerful than the four-stroke engine. Next is, as you know that in two-stroke engine, both the strokes are completed in one full revolution of the engine, that is one full revolution of the crankshaft. So it means all the four processes are completed in one full revolution of the crankshaft. But in the case of four-stroke engine, all these four processes are completed in the four-stroke, that is in the two revolution of the engine, or you can say in the two revolution of the crankshaft. And also I told you that camshaft is driven by the crankshaft, and all the timings whether it is the fuel injection timing, air inlet valve timing, or the exhaust valve timing. All these three timings are controlled by the camshaft. So in two-stroke engine, the camshaft revolution is equal to the crankshaft revolution, because in two-stroke engine all the four processes are getting completed in one full revolution. But in the case of four-stroke engine, your crankshaft speed and camshaft speed cannot be same, because the four processes are getting completed in two revolution of the crankshaft. So here the crankshaft speed should be double of camshaft. It means if crankshaft is turning at the 100 rpm, then your camshaft should turn only 50 at the 50 rpm, right? And this can be done only by using the reduction gears. Here I would like to tell you that in some of the latest engines, all these timings are electrically controlled by the PLCs. So in those engines there are no camshaft. So in the modern engines there may be a possibility that there would be no camshafts only, and all the timings will be controlled electronically. One more difference between two-stroke engine and four-stroke engine is their flywheel. In two-stroke engine, the flywheel is smaller compared to the four-stroke engine, because the function of the flywheel is to store the rotational energy and maintain the constant RPM throughout the cycle. In two-stroke engine, there is firing in every cycle, in every rotation. So you require less rotational energy to be stored to maintain the RPM, whereas in four-stroke engine the firing is in every alternate cycle, in every alternate rotation. So you require more rotational energy to be stored to maintain the RPM throughout the cycle for the full cycle. That is why the size of the four-stroke engine flywheel is very big, whereas the size of the flywheel for the two-stroke engine is very smaller compared to the four-stroke engine. The last difference is lubrication system. As you know, in two-stroke engine, the combustion chamber and the crankcase, they are separate, and in four-stroke engine they are common. So in two-stroke engine you require two type of lubrication, one for cylinder lubrication and another one for the crankcase and bearing lubrication, whereas in four-stroke engine only one lubrication system can lubricate your cylinder lubrication also and crankcase lubrication also. So like you see in two-stroke engine motorcycles, either you put lubrication oil with the petrol or there is a separate 2T oil, whereas in four-stroke engine there is only one type of oil. Now let us see what is piston ring and what's its function. So as you can see, piston rings are fitted in the piston. Generally in marine engine there are 4 piston rings. Top 3 rings are called compression rings and the bottom one is called oil scraper ring. These rings move within the cylinder liner along with the piston. As you can see, the topmost ring is exposed to the combustion chamber and hence it is exposed to the very high temperature. That is why the material of the top ring should be of different quality than the material of the other rings. As you can see, while moving up and down, these piston rings are pressed against the cylinder liner. So their function is to maintain a lubricating oil film between cylinder liner and the piston ring so that there is no metal to metal contact between piston ring and cylinder liner. The most important function of piston rings is to maintain this oil film, because this oil film works as a sealing for the combustion chamber. Because of this sealing only, these gases don't go down below the piston. If there is no sealing, these gases will go down below the piston, which will reduce the power of the engine. At the same time, because of combustible material getting deposited below the piston and due to high temperature, it can catch fire also. So this sealing not only provides more power but also avoids any kind of fire in the scavenge space. The function of the bottommost ring, that is called scraper ring, is to scrape down any excessive lubricating oil in the cylinder liner to the sump. In case scraper ring is not working properly, then this excessive oil will start burning during the combustion process, which will result in high consumption of lubricating oil and bad quality of combustion. You can make out from the smoke. If your exhaust smoke coming out is blue in color, then the reason is burning of lubricating oil during the combustion process. So if you notice that the engine's lubricating oil consumption has increased substantially, then the main reason is malfunctioning of oil scraper ring. During overhaul of the engine, you have to be very careful about the direction of fitting of oil scraper ring, because if you put it in the other direction, in the wrong direction, then it will not scrape down the oil, so it will result in high lubricating oil consumption also. Now we will discuss about turbocharger. Friends, if we want to increase the power of our engine with the same type of stroke and bore, then we need to give more air to the engine, and this can be done only when we pressurize the intake air, and this pressurization of the intake air is done by the turbocharger. Turbocharger is like a centrifugal pump which when rotates, it compresses the atmospheric air and sends it to the scavenge space of the engine. Turbocharger is rotated by the exhaust gases of the engine. So turbocharger is in two parts. One part is the turbine part and the other part is blower part, or you can say compressor part. These exhaust gases from the engine, they enter the turbine part, and due to their pressure, turbocharger starts rotating. As turbine and blower, they both are mounted on the same shaft. As soon as the turbine side starts rotating, blower side also starts rotating. When blower starts rotating, it sucks air from the atmosphere, pressurizes it and sends it to the scavenge space of the engine. It sends the air through the air cooler, because when it pressurizes the air, the temperature of the air increases. So it is very much required to cool down the air, and this cooling is done by the air cooler. So after turbocharger, air goes to cooler, then from cooler it goes to the scavenge space of the engine where it is used for the combustion process. This whole process of giving pressurized air to the scavenge space for combustion is called supercharging of the engine. Supercharging is very important. Because of it, we can get more power from the same smaller engine. Now let us see what is specific fuel oil consumption. Guys, specific fuel oil consumption means quantity of fuel required to produce 1 kilowatt of power for 1 hour, and the unit of it is gram per kilowatt hour. This is very important because it is the indication of the efficiency of the engine. Lower the SFOC means more efficient engine, and every engine maker concentrates on SFOC so that it can reduce the fuel consumption. Now let us see what is critical speed of an engine. As you know that every shaft and engine has its own natural frequency. At the same time, there is a operating frequency also, which is because of operation of the engine. So when the natural frequency and the operating frequency coincides and becomes equal, it causes resonance, and because of this resonance there is a large vibration in the engine which can damage the engine. So the speed range in which this resonance occurs is called critical speed, and every engine has got this critical speed. Continuous operation of the engine in that speed range should be avoided. We can go in this speed range for the short time but not for the longer time. Suppose that critical speed of the engine is from 50 rpm to 60 rpm, then we should cross this speed very fast and should not run continuously in this speed range. Now the last thing is how to calculate the power of the engine practically. So while engine is running, we can calculate the power. For that we have to take one diagram that is called power card. To take this diagram, one instrument is provided that is called indicator instrument. We put this indicator instrument on the engine, then we take this diagram. As soon as we take this diagram, we can calculate the area of this diagram, and by calculating this area we can calculate the mean effective power of the engine during the operation.